Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Would you please, for the love of God and your own body, hold the hammering?
Good morning and welcome back. I think it's going to be one of those weird miscellaneous type of thing weeks because I've got a couple smaller projects that I need to take care of. One of them involves putting up some new shelves in the display room, which is going to mean the Tetrising of a bunch of different kits to make room for the ever-expanding model collection. And secondly, finishing up this the last details on this big X-Wing. And if we have time later in the week, we will start on a couple more aircraft. People say I don't do enough aircraft, so I may do a couple aircraft this week. But let's get to the X-Wing since it's right here on the table. I'm going to grab the camera and do the thing. Okay, so when we last left the X-Wing, it wasn't quite done. It was like 95-96% done. And what I've gone in and what you see the most results from is the chrome pass. And that is just taking a sponge, in this case a piece of styrofoam, dipping it in the chrome paint, and then just dabbing it here and there, and that gives me the highlights, the chroming or the metal highlights of scratched paint. And this is perhaps most notable or most noticed when I shifted into the light, shifted in and out of the light the way it catches it, and you can see that in some angles it's more noticeable than others, which is how it should be. But it helps accentuate the chipped paint to have a little bit of just a little dab of chrome here and there. Another thing is I've added more detail into these intakes because yes, I know they were not as detailed as they could have been. So I put some washes over that and some dry brushing. Here's a good example of the kind of work that I've been doing over the weekend. Just some minuscule little detail work, just dirtying up the paint and then chipping some highlights over top of it. And the last thing to do really is to get this canopy glued down. I do want to glue it. I don't think there's any reason for me to get back in there, so it's not like I can waste time putting magnets on there. It just needs to be glued down. And here you can see some detailing along the edge there. And again, just how the light hits it is going to make the difference. And of course the canopy falls off. That's why I need to glue the canopy down. But that's one of the jobs. And of course getting it onto this base sometime this week and maybe getting it on the wall. Now the real job for this week is going to be taking those sabers down and putting shelves up in front of those two posters so that I can display some of my smaller kits, get them off of the other shelves that they're on now, which would free those shelves for some of the bigger models. This room was always designed to be shelves on, walls, shelves lining the walls, and the posters were there as a wall decoration in the interim. But I got used to the posters. I really like them. I don't want to take them down. So I'm going to be putting the shelves just in front of the posters, and we'll see. I've got wooden shelves for that wall, black to match the top shelf. We'll see. If it ends up covering too much of the poster, I might have to swap those out for glass shelves. But it's not something I was looking forward to. I would much rather do the black. So first thing I need to do is clear out a lot of space and take those sabers down. Okay, the center stanchion or the center support for the shelves is in place. I need to put some more screws into it, but I wanted to make sure that it was level or straight up and down. I guess that's plumb, and yes it is. So I need to drill out the rest of the holes and put big old screws in there. Now I know, because I was a nosy ninny when this room was being built and took extensive photos, that there's like 3 2x4s in the center of this room. There's plenty of blocking behind that center line, so I know Not only do I not need to put molly bolts behind there, I would not be able to, because as I've said, it's solid wood. So I can also take that center measurement, measure out my 16 inches so that I know where the studs are. And I think, if I'm remembering correctly, when I put those shelves in, that there's also a stud there, so I shouldn't need to put molly bolts behind those. I will investigate it because I'm putting up much heavier shelves this time, and I want to make sure that not only do they not fall down, but they don't land on anything below them. So putting the center one in was the easiest, was also the most difficult to get to. So I can square the other two up off of that. I really didn't have a lot of fudge room as far as hitting that shelf and hitting that bracket. So that was the one that went in, and I can work out on the sides a lot easier as far as leveling up the outer, or yeah, you know, squaring up the outer stanchions so that when I put shelves on there, the shelves will be level. So, oh, the fun we were having. Okay, welcome back to Infrastructure Week. I've got the shelf stanchions all in. I've got the actual shelf hangers positioned. I'm not exactly sure that is going to be their final spacing. Until I get some ships on there, I won't know. And of course, the goal is to alleviate those glass shelves from all those very light, very tiny starships that I could hang, that I could put up on that top shelf there. And I just have to be careful that I don't set them so far back that you can't see them. But you'll certainly be able to see them from across the room, which is the goal. And that means those heavier, more substantial glass shelves I can fill with heavier, more substantial models. So it's all a big Tetris act. Now, this over top of that window, I have a feeling that's going to end up being maybe a sea view or something to go there. Something long and skinny, and doesn't take up a lot of space otherwise. So if I put a sea view there, there's a 350 scale Discovery that I may try to put on the same shelf with that Discovery. Just set them side by side. So this is where the now that the shelves are in. Of course, the shelves are still being painted, or they're still drying. They were painted today, and they will dry for a few more hours before I put them in place, and that will tell me if I am blocking too much of the posters, and I might want to reposition them just because of that. So this is where all of the rearranging fun comes. Okay, things are still kind of torn up, but you can see I've started filling the shelves. Now, this, Lord knows, probably won't be their final configuration, but starting to move things around and giving the other spaces where I've had models more breathing room. You can see I most importantly brought the Enterprise E out to sit here, which means I moved that 350 Enterprise Classic into the studio where the old E was. So yeah, it's one of those things that the space is automatically taken up by other models, and the next thing you know, you're still out of room. But breathing space is the important thing at this point. And I do have some empty shelves on that wall. Come on, focus. I do have some space on that wall, and some space out in the dining room. Welcome back to Infrastructure Week Day 2. It's Tuesday. I have looked upon my mighty works, and I have not despaired. I have decided it's time. While everything's pulled out, I think it's going to be time to expand. I want to add 2 more shelves going out to the right and left. So that means going back to the store and picking up some additional parts. While I've got everything kind of torn out, this is the best time to do it. Hopefully get in there once, and then I won't have to, it'll be set for a good long while, because I would like to get those shelves on the back wall situated in such a way that I don't have to pull the Kirk chair out to rearrange chips on there. I want to get that kind of set and done. So I've made up a shopping list. All I need to do is go get. Well, good morning, folks. It's Infrastructure Week, day 123, it seems like. I feel like I have been beat like a rented mule. I woke up this morning, could barely get out of bed. All day yesterday was up a ladder, down a ladder, bend over, do some painting, move a model, inevitably fix a model, because anyone who's moved a model knows that that's when they're going to break. So you have to stop and get out the CA and fix it if something has broken. But then you move a model and then you rearrange and then you pick up and move another model and you don't like it and you move it back to where it was. So I went to bed exhausted last night, I'll tell you that. But woke up this morning feeling like I had aged 20 years. This is the barest amount of what you're seeing, because what you're not seeing is how it had a domino effect on the rest of the house. And I'm still in the midst of it. Before I finish up today, I need to move the Kirk chair back against the wall. I still have an empty spot. Well, I'm going to have empty spots. That's what I call, room to grow. But this room is mostly done. It's now spilled out into the dining room and to other parts of the house as far as the where things have been moved around to. But what you're seeing is the whole house is breathing easier now, because things aren't as crowded on shelves as they were. These are the new shelves, of course. But I've got breathing room. I've moved things out from the living room into here. I've been able to condense things together, like trying to group most of my similar franchise stuff together. Like if I can move most of my Lost in Space to one shelf up there, and keeping my starships together, moving my Forbidden Planet stuff to right in front of the poster, that kind of stuff. But as you can see, we're still scrunched up here where the chair is, so I've got to push that back against the wall. Once I have finished, or once I've decided that I'm finished mucking about with these new shelves, you could see some of the newer kits that like the pod there and the Razor Crest, that I have been able to actually put on actual shelves instead of just temporary housing. So I know I've had plenty of people ask me for tours of the display room, and this may be as close as you get. So drink it in, folks. Once everything is pushed back and in place, I'll have a lighting ceremony where I will light up a bunch of stuff, and we'll do that. But this is the result of Infrastructure Week so far. I think I'm going to end up rearranging those heads, because I have to make room for the new Steve Neal masks that I have been getting. So that's where they're going to go. But you can see the fact that I've taken two kits off of here means I got breathing room, and the stuff that's on the table here is more evenly spaced out and has more room to breathe, and more importantly, more room that I'm not bumping into when I'm walking by it. You'll see the Enterprise E over on the shelf behind the robot now, but the Enterprise E is over here. And a funny thing I noticed, long-time viewers might remember that I was complaining about the coloring on the decals. Somehow, when you put them under these halogen lights or these LED lights, those decals go back to being the proper color. They're not that brown that they were under the fluorescent light. They actually look the grays and blacks that they're supposed to be. So it's a very, very interesting phenomenon, and it's something that you should be aware of when you're building a model, that you check it out in various lighting situations. But that's not nearly as brown as it was before. And like I said, there's one of the new shuttles there, and I'm able to give them a just presentation space and spread them out a bit. Got all my Robbies in a row. This is what I'm talking about as far as having like posters. I was able to put a tiny refit there next to the travel pod, next to the Spock bust in front of the motion picture poster, that type of thing. And we're back around and out the door. Now, I won't be showing you what the dining room looks like at this point because it looks like a bomb has gone off in there. So until then, see you later. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway of the weekend, and you'll notice the X-Wing is gone. The X-Wing is gone from the work table because it is finally hanging on the wall where it's going to be. All I need to do is dress everything that's around it. So let's go check that out. And here we are out in the dining room, what used to be the dining room, what is now the secondary display room. And you can see that this is how it's going to look hanging from the wall. Now everything behind it is still in flux, so don't pay too much attention to that. But this is how I envision the X-Wing hanging on the wall so that I could twist it a little bit, put it at a nice angle for people to look at. Now, yes, it's sticking out in front of the shelves behind it. So what I need to do is either reconfigure those shelves to have something that I don't mind seeing through, or I don't know 100% sure what yet. I have a feeling I'll probably move a lot of my Star Wars models to this shelf and away from the other shelves, maybe condense them into that area. And as you can see on the wall behind it, this wall has had many iterations of shelving, but it's my house, those are my walls. I remember when I was a kid, I was chastised every time I put a poster on the wall because my mom would say, "Those aren't your walls. Don't be putting tape on the walls. It's going to pull the paint off. When you get your own house, you can put your own posters up." Well, I happen to have my own house, so I can make whatever holes I want to. And of course, I can patch those over. That's no big deal. That's painting 1-to-1 scale. That's easy. But that's it. Now that the X-Wing is up off of the table, I'll back out a little bit, maybe try to get around the table to this side so that you can see what it looks like straight on. There you go. Well, yeah, there you go. That's straight on. And you'll notice the bottom wings, the bottom cans there are out wider than the top. I don't know what exactly the deal is with that. I think that's a peculiarity of this Captain Cardboard kit, that it kicks the bottom wings out further. Or it could be that the other kits, because they have that mechanism in it to line the wings up, just, squeeze those bottom engines in a little bit closer. Or maybe it's the top wings that are too close to the hull. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting. But that's how she hangs. And here you go. One last look, I think. Having all of the Star Wars kits, well, not all of them, but a lot of them in the same place now. I've rearranged things on this shelf, which gave me the chance to pull everything out, clean the glass shelves, dust the kits off, do some rearranging, and yeah, make a nicer exhibit. In a perfect world, I would want to paint that back wall black, but that's just, nuts. Don't want to go that crazy. But let's try to keep the camera as still as possible. And we can do a nice close-up on, I'll tilt that just a little bit more of an angle so that I can look in to the pilot there. So finally finished the last bit of construction today, which was to glue the canopy down. But there you go. And if you ever wanted to see the difference between the Fine Molds Falcon, that's the Fine Molds 72nd scale Falcon, That is the Bandai Perfect Grade 72nd Scale Falcon. Get that kit. Don't get that kit. That kit is too squat and too thin in the center. This is more rounded and hamburger shaped. This is the kit you want. If you can still find it and you only want to build 1/72nd scale Falcon in your life, go for the Perfect Grade Falcon. And here is a weird point of interest. I've had people ask me about shelving brackets and what do I use? What kind of anchor bolts do I use? And this is what I got to tell you. This is what I use. The 1/2 drywall anchor brackets. Let me zoom back out. There we go. So you can see the whole thing. What I like about them is that they're rated for 143 pounds at in a 1/2 inch drywall, which is what most drywall is. I know that there's 3/8 inch drywall, but a lot of people don't use that or don't have that in their house. They have the 1/2 inch drywall or plaster. If you've got, you know, plaster and lath, then you've got, you know, all kinds of stability. But if you're only going into drywall and you can't hit a stud, this is what I recommend. You drill a big hole. You drill a hole that's 5/16 wide, almost a 1/2 inch wide. You pound this into that hole. It goes in behind the drywall, which is about here, and then you pop this thing in and you hit it a couple times, and it expands the drywall bolt, which greatly increases your strength. And then you put this big old honking screw through it, and I'm not going to ruin the bolt here by doing it. These are kind of, once you've used them, you've used them. So this goes all the way through, drills into that, pulls back against the drywall, and is very stable. So this is what I use. I know in some cases, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, it might be overkill. I think it's just kill enough because, well, there's your instruction. There's how it, instructions on how it goes in the background. But what I like about them is that they're very low impact from the outside. When I take the bolt out or I take the shelf down, it just leaves a little bitty clear plastic piece that I can either spackle over or paint over or use again for another shelf. And that's, I think, going to be the end of Infrastructure Week for today. Okay, well, here it is. It's Thursday evening of the week, and I am finally starting to do some modeling. Trying to do some model building this week, and the models I have chosen for my aircraft debut are the Snoopy and Red Baron kits. So I figured that I would start today just by taking the parts off of the sprues. Not that it's going to take all that long to build, but I got to tell you, I've never seen so much flash on a model. On a commercial kit, this is positively swimming in flash. He claims to be looking for somebody named Obi-Wan, but I've never seen such devotion in a droid before. Now, I mean, look at that. You could tell these must have been some very old molds and in desperate need of a cleaning, because that's just tremendous. That's the kind of flash you might see on a resin kit. But I figured after the resin kits that I had been working on the last few weeks, and plus all of the physical torment that I have been abusing myself with this week, I wanted to do something nice and easy and quick to do. And so I landed on these two plastic kits that I can go ahead and do, because they're molded in color, with the exception of the Red Baron's head. There's not a lot. I mean, there's some flesh that needs to be painted there. But this is all snapped together or very easy to glue. It's going to take me longer to clean the lettering for Snoopy's doghouse than practically any other part of this build. One thing, these were kits that I had built, not the Red Baron, but the Snoopy. I built this kit back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I mean when I was a younger dummy. And the one thing that always bugged me was this missing tooth thing here. That's where the little thought balloon is supposed to come out of the side of his head for something like that. For the good grief. But thought balloons don't come out of your mouth. Thought balloons come out of your head. So I'm going to seal this tooth up, and if I decide to use these, I'm going to stick it out of the side of his head where it makes sense. So the one thing I can do tonight before I call it an evening is to go ahead and take a little bit of the I don't think I want to use epoxy sculpt. I can actually use this JB Weld epoxy putty that is white and go ahead and just pack that in from the inside and kind of close off that hole. And I'm debating about how much of this I want to paint. Do I want to paint the plane at all? I do think that I want to paint the his helmet because it should be green. And they've stuck it on the black sprue, thinking that kids would think that was close enough and not be worried about it. But I do want to do that, though. I have to get both halves done and then sand this seam. So yeah, and that traps the in between the sides of the head. So I'm debating whether or not I want to weather these planes up or put some shading on them or any of that kind of stuff. But I will be spending this evening cleaning these parts. I mean, look at that. It's hard to tell what's flash and what isn't. So I'll clean these parts up and get ready for a very fast build of these tomorrow. And now we come to my favorite part of the show, Lou Makes Excuses. And today's chapter of Lou Makes Excuses. I did not get into the building of the two Atlantis kits, the Snoopy and the Red Baron, only because, well, not only, but mostly because I pulled the parts out last night. I started cleaning them, and I got this far. Hang on, nice little propeller here. I started cleaning them, and I realized this was going to take a little bit more work than I was willing to give it today. I was thinking that, okay, I could knock these things out and finish up the week with these two completed kits. Well, to do the kind of job on it that I really wanted to do, it's going to take more than the afternoon of one day to get them. I have started them. Only got but so far, and I realized there was some stuff that I wanted to do. Like, I'm only going to build these once. I've built them once a long time ago when I was a kid. But things like this, I don't want to use these stickers. I would much rather paint the insignia on. So I think I would like to at least try that. And I would like to probably put a coat of paint on these as well. Yes, I know they're molded in color, so you don't have to paint them. But, you know, that's how I built them when I was a kid. I didn't paint them then. So maybe this time I ought to paint them. So I ended up not doing that today. On the good news side of it, this morning, I got my first shot. Got my first vaccine shot. Yay! So 3 more weeks set up for my second shot, and then I should be 100% fit to wind and limb for Wonderfest should it go on. So that's good. That's the important thing. And then I came home and watched Godzilla, and then I took a nap. And then I woke up, it was too late in the day. I know they say the second shot is the one that knocks you out, but the first shot, in combination with just the flat-out exertion I've been putting myself through this week, moving things around and, you know, cleaning. And plus, I kind of did some modeling work in the repairing of the kits. You know, you take a kit off the shelf and something breaks, or you set it down and by the time you bumped it off the table and something breaks. So there's repair work that has to be done. So I did some of that. So technically I did some model work this week. But getting the infrastructure done was important. And by the time I got all that done, it was already into Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. It's like, do I really want to start anything this week? So long-winded way of saying, no, I didn't get any modeling done, but that leaves me next week, or a few days of next week, to knock these kits out. So until then, I hope you enjoyed this diversion into Infrastructure Week, and I hope you'll be back next time when we will actually be building models. And until then, excuse me, until then, be good to each other, be safe, be smart, be back next week.